So, you want to learn more about Figma? Well, you came to the right place. I'm your host Antonia and I will teach you a lot in this video. Figma is an amazing collaborative designing tool that is taking over designers' hearts all over the world. It's easy to use, however, when you are a beginner product or UX designer, you might not know the usual workflows, and I will show you everything I know in this video. This video is for absolute beginners or junior designers who want to learn more. Figma can be used in a browser, or you can download it as a standalone app. Let's start with downloading the Figma desktop. You can use it quite a lot as a single user for free, but if you want to share designs between files, you will need to get paid tier. I will show you what does that mean when we open Figma, and they also have a tier for companies, but let's talk about this some other time. So let's open up Figma and meet the interface. So we have Figma on our screen, and first question you might ask yourself is, where do I design? So it all starts from the left side of the screen. Over here, drafts are a very important menu item where your, drafts live. You don't share really drafts anywhere among other files, but you can, keep your designs here as well. But then, if you want to have a little bit serious project, you need to create a new theme. So we're gonna name our theme Figma Masterclass. You can add collaborators, but we're gonna design alone, so I'm gonna skip for now. As you can see, you can choose your tier, but for now we're gonna use a starter. It's for free. Now we have our theme, and we have starter file called design system with some color styles. You can keep it, use it, or if it's a client project or your work project, you will probably delete this immediately. Next question you might ask yourself is, what are themes? If you have a project or a client, a good idea is to start a theme for that. Theme contains project, and inside projects you place files, or in other words, your design. So I will click here for a new project, and let's call it, let's say, first project. And there you have it. You can see on the left hand side over here, this is our folder or a project. And now inside first project, which is inside theme masterclass, I will add a new file. We can just choose black canvas, but you have some templates if you're interested. And this is pretty much how default Figma design starts. You have big canvas. I am zooming out now, but you can't see really anything. It's infinite, and your designs will live over here. Let's put a frame. You can see a frame as a mobile screen or a web screen where you put your design. The shortcut is F, and you just click somewhere on your canvas. Because I zoomed out a lot, it was very small, but here it is. And on the right hand side, you have little drop down. Right now it just says frame, but you have loads of templates to choose from. Usually you will choose iPhone 11 Pro or X as a default for mobile apps, or you can choose MacBook Pro for desktop apps or web apps. I will zoom out a little bit. And this is a screen of usual MacBook Pro, but over here, again on the right hand side, we can choose different heights so it resembles more of a website, and I will put, let's say, 3000 over here. Press enter. And now if I zoom out a little bit more, you can see that this is starting to look as a website container. To explore interface a little bit, I'm gonna press R, and then I'm gonna click inside of a frame. I'm gonna center it just to be neat, and now we're gonna explore interface button by button. First button is menu. It's pretty basic feature in every app, so you have tons of options to choose from, and let's leave it at that, and I will show you some cool tricks a little bit later. Then you have move tool, which you can activate by pressing V. that just means that you can move stuff around. Then we already learned this shortcut, it's frame. If you can also click on it and activate it that way, and you can just drag somewhere on the canvas, and there you go, you have another frame. Let's delete this one. Then you have some geometrical elements over here, and you can also place image if you want. Then you have a pen tool. You have a pencil for some freeform drawing. Let's undo that. And of course pen tool, which is pretty basic pen tool you can find in any vector application. This one is text, so you can just click anywhere and start typing something, and there you go, you have your text over here. Then a hand tool, which is pretty useful if you want to just go around your project and find frame and move around a little bit. There is a cool shortcut for that. If we go to our basic tool, move, if you press space, you can also move around. Very useful. And this little icon is very important. These are comments. You are using comments to collaborate with your team, with stakeholders, with your clients. They're super great. They are attaching themselves to frames. So if you move a frame, the comment will follow. So let me demonstrate. I will click here. I will put a comment and post it. You can see now we have it over here. And then if I move this frame a little bit, one might assume that it's gonna stay here. But no, it actually travels with the frame, so you don't have to be afraid that your comments will get scrambled. They're always attached to a frame and everybody can find them very easily. Then on the left side we have layers, assets, and something else. So if we click over here, it actually expands so you can see pages. Let's talk about pages in a sec. First, let's focus on layers. So over here you have frame 1. This corresponds with the name of our frame, frame 1. If I would rename this, let's say website, you can see that title changed here as well. And then inside, as a child element, we have rectangle 1. And of course, I double clicked to change a name. Let's call it picture. And this is it. You don't see title for stuff that's inside frames. So if I would duplicate this element, by the way, I am pressing Option and just dragging, you can see that now we have two instances of a rectangle, both are named picture. I can also have multiple frames, and you will definitely have a lot of frames in your designs. And then if I expand, you can see all our layers inside. If I delete one, as you can see, everything updates. Okay, now let's talk about pages. So pages are yet another way of organizing your designs. You can use it in any way you seem fit. You can just have one page, for example, designs. But people usually utilize that to maybe say like brainstorming, maybe benchmarking, and then you can put maybe screenshots of other tools over here. You can maybe doodle over here to just brainstorm, and then you can have your designs, which are maybe final designs. So basically you can see pages as, well, basically pages. You can contain different views in different pages, and it's quite useful if you are organizational freak, and I definitely recommend utilizing pages to keep your designs tidy. Then let's click on assets. Right now you don't see anything, and we will learn more about components and libraries in a second, and they will be listed over here. There is a menu that is called Theme Library. And right now, what we can see here is, well, this is the name of our current file. These are colors that every starter theme gets, and they are turned on. Let me show you how that works. So I will click on a rectangle, and then I will click on these 4 dots for style. And as you can see, I have colors over here, and I can select one. But if I turned off colors and then click again over here, you can see that I lost everything. I don't see anything from colors. But if I turn on this colors file, I can see them again. I will teach you a little bit later how to share styles between different files. And these are some styles I have from my other projects, not important for this one. This is the only one that's important to us right now. Also, updates. If some styles or some library has some updates, you will see them here. For example, if I updated colors or designs of a button, you will see that over here. We will learn more about sharing designs a little bit later. Let's go back to layers and then let's switch to the right hand side. We are now on a tab design, which is the most important one. You can change everything regarding your design with properties over here. This is positioning, axis, this is width, height, then this is rotation. You can have border radius, let's say 10 pixels. Now you can see that this one is a little bit curved on the edges. Then we have constraints. They're extremely important for responsive design. We will learn more about them in section for constraints. And then we have some layer properties, basically how colors behave. Then you can choose your color. If I click over here, I can just manually select some color. And then we can have a stroke. For example, it can be red, and you can put, I don't know, let's say 10 pixels over here. You can even specify, is it outside or center or inside. Then we have some effects. Mostly used drop shadow. I rarely use anything else, but just so we know, they exist. As you can see, we have a little bit drop shadow over here. And then export. This is very useful if you want to prepare files for exporting, or if you want to export a certain element or whole frame. You can just choose your file type and click export, and then you will see layer name over here, and that's pretty much it. Then let's continue to prototype tab. In Figma, you can actually animate and prototype your designs. We will learn more about that later. Inspect is useful for handoff. If, for example, developer wants to know more about the styles you used, they can just come over here, copy paste all the values, see all the names, and the handoff between design and development is much easier that way. We have a few buttons that we didn't talk about. Over here on top we have breadcrumbs. We are in first project, and then file is called untitled. We can rename that as, let's say, my first design. Then over here it's your avatar. Then you can share your files, your designs with anybody. You can even publish to community. We're gonna explore community a little bit later. Then over here you have present, a little play button. This is for prototypes, and when I talk about prototypes we will explore what this means. And over here it's just zoom and some extra options you don't need to use at all. And that would be short intro into interface of Figma design tool. Now let's talk about Figma features and workflows. So I have a new file over here. Hopefully view is a little bit more zoomed in, so it's easier for you to see what I'm clicking on. And let's start with components. What are components? Well, components are reusable UI elements you can share between files and just plainly reuse anywhere you like. So let's create a button. First, what I'm gonna do is create a rectangle, and then I'm gonna put text. Let's call it button, and then I'm gonna put it on top. Let's maybe put some color. We have colors from before. How about green one? And then for text, maybe something whitish grayish. And then I'm gonna create a group by pressing Command and G. This group should be a frame because you cannot create components from groups, but this is just convenient shortcut I use all the time. I'm gonna change it to frame. Let's put it in middle. Let's call it a button. Let's maybe add some corner radius. Maybe that's too much. How about 5? And also what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna center this text. Because this text has a parent frame, I can use centering like this, and it's gonna center within that frame. So this centering always looks for parent frame and then centers inside. It also should work for groups. Let's change name of this rectangle one to background. You want to put 99% of your stuff in frames. Groups are just groups. You just want to group certain elements into some collection, so it's maybe easier to move around, but mostly you will work with frames. And now, big moment. Let's create our first component over here. This is very important button. It's create components, and let's click on it. And now you see edges turned purple, and that's very important because this is a symbol for a component. That means if you go to assets, you will see your first component, a button, and all others will show up over here. And now from here you can really just drag and drop and put your components over here. And then if I were to, let's say, change color, let's say to blue, so instances or clones of this master component will follow. They will change accordingly. So this is extremely powerful feature you should constantly use. Let's delete this one. Let's go to layers. And now we know how to make components. Let's talk about auto layout. So this is a very new feature from Figma, and it's quite tricky sometimes to use, but the more you use it, the more you train yourself to use it, the easier it becomes. And it's quite convenient if you're really into making your designs tidy and pixel perfect. So over here I have something very similar as in components page. I have some icon over here, and then I have some text over here. So I'm gonna drop this text. By the way, as I am doing this, look at the left side. Text is outside button frame. Now it's inside. That's also very important for you to know, because sometimes when you drag and drop stuff in and out of a frame, it may not catch, but we want this to be inside. It's very important that you notice that it's actually inside. Let's do the same for this icon, and it's inside. And what we want to do right now is click on parent frame, which is a button, and then on the right hand side there is this new feature, auto layout. I'm gonna click plus and see what happens. As you can see, design changed a little bit. So let's see what happened. Spacings became consistent from all the sides, from left, right, top and bottom. And let's go through the auto layout features so you would understand how it works. So first, this is a direction of auto layout. If I would press this button, then it means that all elements inside of a frame will be a column. We actually want a row, so I'm gonna click this one. This is spacing between items. So basically this icon and this text over here, they're spacing. I can put, let's say 24, and now it's bigger. I can put, let's say 8. Now it's smaller. Let's leave it at that. Now over here you have something that's mixed. This is padding around items, and if you click this icon over here, you can actually position elements differently. Right now this will not do much. Maybe in some other example we will see how that works, but basically you can individually set padding, top, bottom, left, right. If you want, you can set up padding same for all. For example, I can put 10 over here, then we don't see mixed over here anymore, and everything is 10. But also we can reduce top and bottom, and there you have it. Now what happens if I duplicate, let's say, let's duplicate icon, because sometimes it can happen that icon is on the left and on the right in button. So I will press Command D. Now we have two icons, and I can actually shift elements by pressing arrow keys. So this one is selected. I'm gonna press once on the right, and now we have icon, text, icon. Now as you can see, all the paddings are consistent, and also spacings between items are consistent as well. So this is in essence auto layout. It keeps your designs tidy and predictable. So let's delete this right icon. We don't need it right now. You might also have more questions about auto layout. I have individual videos just for that topic, but you can also put comments, we can discuss, I really read everything. So now let's move to variants. This is also a very new feature and it's quite complex, so it takes some time to understand it. And also you can misuse it, but I will try to teach you correct way of using this feature. So now we have something that we've seen before, a button. It's still just a frame with some color and some text, so we need to create a component. That's step one. Now what we need to do is click on plus to create a variant. That means that this button will have different styles for different use cases. Let's say pressed, hover, clicked, disabled, loading, you name it. And now let's change this one to, let's say, disabled, but for disabled we need gray, and maybe changing to something a little bit darker. Yes, so this looks kind of disabled, right? So first thing, let's click on a parent, on a component that has variants. You will see something called property 1, default, and variant 2. What is this? So basically property is just a name that contains certain styles. Let's call this a style, as in button style. And then if I click on this one, I can see that style is default. I mean, this is fine, let's call it primary. And this one, well, that's not variant 2, that is disabled. And then if I go to assets and put button over here, I can actually change styles of a button quite quickly. You see they correspond with these ones over here. This is in essence how variants work. You can create more. You can just continue adding variants for all the states you might need in your project. Let's create another one because I want to show you one cool trick with variants. So this is a toggle. Let's make a component. Let's create a variant from this. Let's move this to other side. Let's put green. So this one seems as turned off and this one seems as turned on. This is fine. And then property will be called state, or actually let's call it disabled. It's better for this use case. And is this disabled? Yes. Is this disabled? No. So what happens is if I go to assets and drop this somewhere, I actually have a toggle over here. It's not related to actual toggle element, but if you put yes or no, then it becomes Boolean, true or false, and then I can just switch between true or false, yes or no. So if you have only two values in your property, you can just put yes or no, and then you have this toggle and you can use it to quickly change styles. I want to show you more about variants, so I'm gonna go to auto layout. I'm gonna steal this icon and then I'm gonna create, let's say, new variant over here, and I'm gonna also create one over here. So basically these are copies of whatever you've seen right now. And then I'm gonna select this one. I'm gonna put auto layout here and I'm gonna drop the icon. Let's expand this box a little bit. Move this one a little bit so everything fits. And then I'm gonna do the same for the other one. Auto layout, so everything fits nicely, so it's responsive. Let's maybe change color. This is also a cool feature that Figma has. If you select something, let's say like this, you can see all selection colors. And let's say, oh, this is not a style. You just press this icon over here. You enter the element that has this value, so white. And then we can put some other color. This is very useful for finding elements that don't use style, but they should. Okay, now we have basically copycats over here, but this one has icon and this one doesn't. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put over here new property and I'm gonna call it icon. And then these two, do they have icon? By the way, I selected them with shift. No, they don't have. These two, Do they have an icon? Yes, they do. And also, you need to specify style for this one and this one, so it's not style 4 and style 3. Well, this is primary, right? So you can just reuse the tag you already created. And this one is disabled, not style 4, so you just reuse it. So what happens now is, if I drop a button over here, let's move a little bit so we have space for this example. Now we can choose between different styles of a button, but then we can toggle icon on and off. If I put disabled, it still works. So I can easily add unlimited amount of properties, and you can play with this quite a lot to create styles that fit your project. I think for now you might get overwhelmed with variants, so let's go to styles. So I have a rectangle over here and some text. So styles can be applied to text as text styles, and also to, let's say, rectangle souls and so on as color styles. So let's start with this rectangle over here. Let's change color to something more exciting, let's say this baby blue, and then I'm gonna press these 4 icons over here and create style. And I'm gonna call it baby blue. As you can see, now we have baby blue. This is some old style I previously created. So if I press R, drop some frame over here, let's resize it so it fits over here, I can actually just reuse this style. What also happens, you can just click on a canvas and then this icon over here, edit style, and we can actually tweak it a little bit to be, let's say, a bit darker, and it applies for every element that uses this style. Super neat. Now let's create a textual style. So let's say this is body text I want to use. The same pattern applies, plus, and we will call it my first text style. My first. I love typos. And there you have it. So if I were to write something over here, let's mess it up completely. And then I go here, my first text style, I click on it, and it's the same as this one. So the same applies. If I click on a canvas, go to edit style, I can put, let's say, 12, and then everything changes. I can even change width, whatever I want. And when you're creating your project, you always want to make components, color styles, and textual styles to keep everything connected and up to date. This one will be short, how to swap a component. Let's say we have a toggle over here, but then you realize, you know what? I want something else. I want this button over here. So what you can do is press Option, just drag it on this component, and as soon as you see these purple edges, you just release it, and boom, you just swapped. I can also do the same with other component. This is how it works. You can also click on a component over here, go to this menu on the right, and then switch it like this. I actually prefer dragging and dropping because it's quite visual, and you have search over here, so you probably know how your components are called, and I find it quite fast. Now this one is fun, prototyping. So let's say we have these two views, some market and then store, like as an individual thing over here. This design is just nonsense. I just pulled it from community files. It's somebody else's work. I didn't design this, but it's gonna be perfect for this example. So I want to prototype moving from this view to this view. I need to go to prototype button over here, menu item, tab, however you call it. And let's say I want to navigate from this card over here to whole view over here. So while I'm in prototyping, I selected this one card, and this little circular button with plus, just click on it and point at the whole frame. You see blue edges around the frame. This is correct. You release it. And then little menu shows. Interaction details. Is it on click? Yes. You can also choose different interactions over here, but this is pretty basic, so it's on click. Navigate to means just change view, but you also have some advanced options over here that we will not cover right now because it's a little bit overwhelming. And this is the target. They share the name, so it doesn't make much sense, but you can change it to something else. And then animation. Is it instant? Well, it can be, but we can have something more fun. Let's say move out. Maybe this animation? What do you think? Or move in? Yeah, I think this one looks really good. You can choose your easing. You can even smart animate matching layers. You don't know yet what that means, or maybe you do, maybe you're more advanced, but we will not use this feature right away. Let's click away from this one. And then you see this blue rectangle with little play icon. That means where your prototype starts. You can actually drag it around and put it as a starting point from some other frame. But let's leave it at here because we actually want to start from here. And then let's press play. Now we are in prototype viewer. And if I click anywhere, you see, it flashes blue where hotspot is. So I will click on this one, and as you can see, I just transferred to another view. This is pretty much it. And then if I want to go back, let's say here, I can again point at my initial view. And then what I can do is, this is click, navigate to, I can choose back because it's actually coming back. And then let's go back to prototyping. There it is. Doop, doop. You see how it works? Okay, now let's see what Smart Animate in this little menu does. Let's click it. As you can see, this top part remained the same. Previously it was like pushing as the rest of the view, which is not really what we want, and apps don't work that way, but this is much better. Of course, these elements should be named a little bit better. For example, if we go back to design, we can create these two. I'm pressing Command R to rename. So Command R for renaming, batch renaming multiple items. It's super nice if you need it. Let's go back. Now it just changes, as you can see. And if you want to be even more advanced, you can copy this search, paste it over here, and then on axis, I'm gonna push it away. And then what happens is, let's go back, it actually pushes from the screen. So as you can see, this is initial, but the one that's off view, it's pushed. So it's animating, smart animating. It works pretty cool, right? And to expand this tutorial about smart animating, let's dig deep into what it really means. So over here I have exactly the same two views. I want this one to be start point and this one to be end point. And as you already saw, we need to duplicate layers in order to Figma figure out how to animate them. So I'm gonna copy this overlay and I'm gonna copy this dialog because I want them to animate. Oops, sorry. I'm trying to copy, but it didn't work out from beginning. I'm purposely leaving all these mistakes in video because I want you to see everything I do. Okay, so what's our mission over here? I want to animate this thing to, let's say, come from top, okay? So if this is start and this is end, I don't need to touch this one. But the start one, well, we don't have overlay, right? So opacity should be 0, right? So let's put it 0. And then this one should come from top, right? So let's push it a little bit up And also I don't want it to be off screen and then drop from nowhere. I want it to, you know, be hidden and just kind of from top part slide into center. So what I'm gonna do is this pop-up should be a little bit hidden, so I'm gonna reduce opacity, okay? And then what I'm gonna do is, let's say that this one switches views. I'm gonna put it on this view over here, and then this is the same, but instead of moving, we're gonna choose Smart Animate. You don't need to touch other options if you really don't have exact plan why you need to change those. And then let's click on this one and point it back, and then let's yeah, we can also Smart Animate this one going back. Okay, and then let's start it. Well, this one is already running, so we need to start it again. I pressed R to restart our prototype. So this is a beginning, and then if I click, you see how it animates nicely? So this is how you actually can put little animations in your designs. It's a lot of repetition, so I'm not like a big fan of Smart Animate. I don't use it that much. I prefer just, you know, instantly swapping stuff around just to illustrate the flow. But, you know, if you want to have some fun and make a little bit nicer designs, I warmly recommend using Smart Animate. Then commenting. Well, you saw how that works. I'm gonna create 2 frames. Then I'm gonna press C, that's shortcut for commenting. I'm gonna put one over here, hello, post. I'm gonna put one over here, and I will tag myself. When you tag somebody, it's blue as a link. They will get a notification like email, or if you're connected to Slack, they're gonna get some ping. Hello back. And you can even put some icon over here. Let's say goofy one. Post. I mean, commenting is not really super sophisticated at this point, but it works. So if I go into commenting, you can see over here all our comments. So if you press commenting, you can see comment numbers over here. You can see everything that happened. Unattached comments, that means that they're just flying in canvas. It's very hard to find them. You can click over here and then you see what happened over here. But these are resolved comments. What does that mean? You can press this little icon over here with check mark, resolve, and then they become gray over here. That actually means it's done, you know. If you want to clean up your designs from comments, it can get quite crowded, trust me. And that's pretty much it. I showed you that they travel with frames, so if I move this over here, this 4th comment is still sticking to this frame. Next topic that's quite useful for you are plugins. So if I go to this first icon over here, that's Figma logo, and if I go to community, you can see that you can find all sorts of things for your designs. But we want plugins. And over here you have tons of plugins. You can see how many installs they have. I mean, if you see such humongous numbers, they are probably really good. You can see if you have installed plugin or do you want to install it over here. And that's pretty much it when it comes to installing plugins. I have a couple of those installed that as you can see, like Lorem Ipsum and Unsplash. So I'm gonna go back to my file, and then I want to apply pictures, for example. I can select all of them and then watch this, Command / triggers menu. And then you can use search to actually search through items in menu. This is so powerful. Not many people use this. I use it every day, constantly, all the time, and it makes my work super turbo fast, okay? And I'm gonna search for Unsplash because it also searches through plugins. Just enter, And there you go, I have plugin running over here, and let's say we want something colorful. And as you can see, all these rectangles are now pictures with nice stuff. Let's put portrait, for example. You can fill your designs with some sort of images very, very quickly with this plugin. Then I will put text file over here. I'm gonna command / and then put lorem auto generate, and it actually fills the edges, the boundary box of this text box I just created. I can also, you know, generate something else. Let's say I need more text, generate. So while edit, you can see that this boundary box is a little bit short, right? We end up here, but boundary is over here, the edge. So what you can do is you can actually, while this is selected, click on this icon over here. This is auto hide for text field, and then it expands. It was on this one. This means everything is manual, so you know, you can do wild stuff, but you don't want to really use that. And if I would click on this one, it's gonna expand in width. This is also something you might use, but you know, if you have some width you want to use, you can just click on this one. Very useful. Wow, my god, that was a long tutorial. Now you should be able to start designing yourself. There are tons of workflows that would take at least 10 hours to cover, but I have plenty of previous tutorials that cover how to share components, what is modular scale and how to use it, how to start design systems, and so much more. I can help you the best if you book a mentoring session on SuperPeer. That's a platform for one-on-one video calls, and it's ideal for mentoring. Wow! This was exhausting. I really hope you liked it. Please subscribe if you like this video. Also, while edit, put thumbs up. And if you have any questions, put them in comments. I read and respond to everything. I deserve a break. Have a good one. Čauski.